Kremlin Purge begins. The KGB wants Shoigu head. Putin disposed of one of his best friends, and one of Russian generals died from a special illness. What is happening inside Putin's inner circle? But more about all this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. Today we have a little bit of Russian classic literature. I mean, not classic, but literature anyways. So in the Russian Moscow, specifically bookstores, this very interesting book appeared recently, which is basically Sergei Shoigu, and its title is Lieutenant from the Future, Fight Against Bandera Nazis in Ukraine. And the very first thing you might notice is that he is called a lieutenant. I honestly thought that he was the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation, so he got demoted, to say the least. And well, I mean, if some random fanfiction writer does not respect Shoigu at all, what kind of influence does he have over the Russian military? At this point it is non-existent. I'm now also curious about you guys. If you do not respect Sergei Shoigu at all, can you please like this video and subscribe to my channel, just so I can see how many of us are right here. You can also follow me on Instagram just to see how I live outside of YouTube. The link is down below. And so yes, now let's briefly talk about Ukrainians being approved for game-changing lethal weapons. Then I'll give you a very quick update from the east and the south of Ukraine, and we'll finalize everything with this Kremlin's Purge. And first of all, over the weekend, the United States of America approved some Western countries to send F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. Finally, but they will receive these fighter jets after they complete the necessary training. And for example, Denmark is planning to send 19 F-16 planes, while the Netherlands has the potential to send up to 42 F-16s to Ukraine in the near future. And in addition to that, Greece will also be training Ukrainian pilots how to operate these flying machines. But wait, there is more. Ukraine is currently negotiating with Sweden about receiving their own fighter jets called Gripen. And just a couple of characteristics of these fighter jets is that its top speed can be more than 2100 kilometers per hour, and the total takeoff time is only 18 seconds. Which is going to be extremely crucial for Ukrainians, because as of right now, as soon as Ukrainian pilots take off, they're almost immediately on Russian radars. That is why the speed is of the essence. Speaking more about aerial machines, Ukraine is planning to use its own artificial intelligence drones called Sky Night 2s. And what makes them superior to just regular drones is that in case the drone operator loses the connection to this drone, the drone itself will still try to finish its combat mission. And ultimately, right here is the short documentary about Mi-24s and Mi-8s, Ukrainian helicopters that they have been using in this war, and these combat machines most certainly helped to change the course of many battles. This documentary is extremely easy to watch, it is very interesting and very informational, and it does have English subtitles, so if you want to see the full version, it will be on my Patreon, the link is down below, there is still 1 week of free access. And so yes, now let me give you a very quick update from the east, and then we'll go to the south of Ukraine. But first of all, we just have to make a stop in the capital of Russia, Moscow, which just once again has been under attack by Ukrainian drones. The Russian Ministry of Defense claims that they're able to intercept all of them, and we even have videos like this. And to make things a little bit more spicy, one of main Russian propagandists, Margarita Simonyan, she said that one of such drones fell literally across the street from her house. It is not yet damaged or destroyed, and she almost gave her full address, hinting Ukrainians that probably they should keep going. And then we have yet another video from Kursk, which is already extremely close to the territory of Ukraine, where yet another Ukrainian drone landed on the roof of the local train station. Right, and now let's go to the actual east of Ukraine. And first of all, according to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, Russians and Ukrainians continue to engage in combat activities along Kupiansk, Svatove, Kreminna front line, and Russians were not able pretty much to advance, but at the same time, Ukrainians just liberated a little bit of territory to the northeast of Sinkivka. As we move down, Ukrainians were also able to advance a little bit closer to the south of Dnipro. In addition to that, Ukrainians were able to destroy a large artillery firing position of Russians to the west of Kremlin, and as we move a little bit more to the south, a large concentration of Russian forces has also been destroyed in Verkhnokamenka. Besides that, Ukrainians were able to achieve a relative success in liberating some territories to the south of Bakhmut, as you can see from this map. And in total, Ukrainians were able to liberate approximately 3 square kilometers of Bakhmut surrounding areas last week. And ultimately, a Ukrainian assault group along with their tanks were able to destroy a pretty big entrenched position of Russians to the south of Krasnogorivka. Right, and now let me give you a similar quick update from the south, and then we'll finally talk about Purge inside Kremlin. And first of all, the most important part of the last week is that Ukrainians were also able to cross Dnipro river and looks like gain foothold on the left side of Kherson region, as you can see from this map. Then we have this absolutely mind-blowing video from southern frontlines where a pretty big convoy of Russian military vehicles, mainly tanks, got completely ambushed and destroyed. This is a significant obliteration of Russian forces. If you see the full video, which is by the way yes on my Patreon, you will see it for yourself that there were absolutely no chances left, and once again it does look like that Ukrainians were using the cluster ammunition. Next, we once again refer to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, which claims that there were at least 2 places in the south when there were active combat activities, and Ukrainians reportedly were able to achieve significant success in the south next to Robotyne. They reportedly were able to cross minefields and starting pushing Russians away from this settlement. We even have some claims from the Russian propagandists themselves that Russian soldiers are already retreating from Robotyne. This information still requires to be confirmed. But as for now, as you can see from this map, this is how much land Ukrainians were able to liberate around this settlement starting from the last week. And another active zone in the south of Ukraine is obviously next to Staromayorsky and Urozhaini. And then right here, as you can see from this map, this is how much territory Ukrainians were also able to liberate from last week. And as of right now, as it is being reported straight from the front lines, Ukrainians are not planning to take a breather and they are already targeting the next 2 settlements, Zavitne Bazhanna and also Staromlinivka. And if you remember from my previous episodes, the ultimate goal of this particular counteroffensive will be to march first of all towards Melitopol and also to try to get as close as possible to Berdyansk, which, by the way, speaking about this particular city, recently some locals reported even more loud noises, which were allegedly coming from the concentration of Russian forces and their military barracks, as you can see from this video. And as a result, as you can see, there was no particular success by Russians in the last several weeks, and in addition to that, the capital of Russia is already being attacked almost daily. It also seems like that Putin is not doing much, he does not feel like that he is in control anymore. And that is why it is no wonder that some other government services and branches, they're becoming very impatient and dissatisfied. Such as, for example, the FSB, which by the way is just the former KGB. And so either by the direct order from Putin or without even his knowledge at all, it looks like that they started to purge Kremlin. And people, including the ones from the Putin's inner circle, they just keep disappearing for even the smallest mistakes. Such as, for example, and I mean you probably heard about this, so Russia wanted to put this rover on the moon, and this mission successfully failed. So one of the Russia's greatest scientists and physicists, Mikhail Marov, who was responsible for this moon mission, after this failure, he was spontaneously rushed into the hospital because his health was started to become spontaneously deteriorating. Yes, I did mispronounce this word, but I mean, you get the idea. Then we have this yet another active critic of Putin's regime, Igor Strelkov/Girkin, who recently was sent to jail for his active positions and statements. And long story short, recently he also started saying that his chronic diseases started appearing once again, he cannot feel one of his arms, and yeah, overall condition of his health is also not perfect. But wait, there is more, because Putin's closest friend, Dmitry Peskov, pretty much the press secretary of Kremlin, who was speaking and being in public eye every single day, the very last time he was seen in media was approximately more than 3 weeks ago. And the very last statement he mentioned is that the presidential elections in Russia, it is not like a real democracy. It is more like a very expensive bureaucracy. So I'm only wondering why we haven't heard from him in so long. But I mean, those people in general, they just feel unwell, probably after drinking the Russian tea or standing way too close to open windows in high-rise buildings. Because some other representatives of Kremlin's inner circle, such as for example Gennady Zhitkov, the general of Russian army, responsible for so many failures, he spontaneously passed out from a very questionable and intriguing disease. And to make things even more suspicious, this guy Gennady Zhitkov, he used to be the ex-deputy of Sergei Shoigu, the Minister of Defense of Russia. A very big coincidence, right? I don't think so. Because recently, according to the Western intelligence, it looks like that the FSB, the modern KGB, they want the head of Sergei Shoigu and Valery Gerasimov. I mean, obviously, they do not say it in the open text like this, they just want Sergei Shoigu to peacefully retire, somewhere preferably in Siberia in the labor camp. And obviously the main reasons for this are the never-ending failures of Russia in Ukraine, then the whole dead-end situation in this country, the not-so-aggressive policy of Sergei Shoigu and even Putin himself. That is why it looks like that the FSB became impatient, they want to replace people, put some of their own, and maybe try to change something from the inside. So at this point it might be very fair to say that Sergei Shoigu and maybe some other generals and officers in Russia, in the very near future they might go straight to jail. So I mean, yeah, let's wait and see. It becomes pretty interesting how this war outside of Russia, creating so many problems for Putin and his inner circle. It does not longer look like that he is in control of many things, so we might see potentially big changes in the near future. If you don't want to miss them, you already know what to do. So simple, just take your mouse, click on the subscribe button, and you will be more than welcome in the Russian Dude community. The absolutely best way to support my work is through my Patreon. You can also become my channel member, unlock some channel perks, or simply use a PayPal link. Everything can be found to the right and down below. Thank you so much for attention, товарищи. Please follow me on Instagram, beware there are scammers in the comments, and see you tomorrow.